few years ago, one occasion, some sort of journalist met, and one journalist used to ask me, why you express you are son of India? Then I mentioned my brain, each part of my brain cell filled by Nalanda thought, survived with Indian dal, Indian rice, Indian chapati. So therefore, I am son of India. Really, I feel, you see, my life not easy, lot of difficulties. But during this period, the India saw thought to keep inner strength. So therefore, through my own practice, the ancient Indian thought very, very useful. So now, wherever I go, I always tell ahimsa, ahimsa. That's India's message. With that karuna, like that. So therefore, I consider I'm truly son of India. Then, in the reality, now today, I'm longest guest of Indian government. So now, since the people of India and the government of India from during Rajendra Prasad, Indian president, wonderful. Then Pandit Nehru, and so on. They really look after Tibetan community, Tibetan refugee, and including myself. So therefore, now I really feel very happy. So therefore, now, I would say, to
pay back. To pay back your kindness.
As I mentioned earlier, you see, the most part of my life spent in this country, and Indian public, Indian leader, very much sort of take care of me. So now, my sort of repay. Yes, I am trying. I dedicated, I determined to revive ancient Indian knowledge according secular way in modern India. The rest of my life, I dedicated to serve to revival of ancient Indian knowledge about our mind, about our emotion. So far, when I talk these things, the Indian, also the public, particularly the students, their response, very good, so very hopeful. So now you also, so this movement, one single person, only two hands. So I need more, more people, you see, work or same line. Okay, now some questions.
Morning, Your Holiness. We have 6 questions here.
Yes.
And the first question is from Miss Dinesh Bhatia. She's a law student from Delhi University. Dinesh Bhatia, please.
Good morning, Your Holiness. My question is, how being spiritual is different from being religious? Can we both be religious and spiritual at the same time? Can an atheist be spiritual too? Thank you.
Atheist.
Now, all religion, all major religious tradition, you see, inspired different philosophy. Some say, like Christianity or many other religion, Islam or Judaism, you see, believe God as a creator. Then Jainism, Buddhism, you see, no creator. But the essence of Christian practitioner is loving kindness and forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. So similarly, non-theistic religious tradition, including Buddhism, also, you see, main practice is loving kindness, forgiveness, tolerance. So all those religious tradition, you see, inspired different philosophy, different concept, but all carry same message of love, no differences. So on that base, we can develop religious harmony. I have number of friends, some Christians, some Jews, some Muslim. They are very, very sincere practitioner of compassion. Wonderful. In philosophical field, there are differences. That's even Buddhism. Within Buddhism, firstly, non-Buddhist and Buddhist now, India, non-Buddhist, they believe Atma. Buddhist, Anatma, differences. Within Buddhism, the Chidamantra, the Vivashek, Sodantik, Chidamantra, and Madhyamika, 4 different schools of thought. Within Madhyamika, Prasangika, and then Kasa.
Svatantrika.
Sodantika. So there are differences in philosophical field because, you see, human being, different mental disposition. Therefore, we need different way of approach to practice compassion, loving kindness. So to some people, the theistic religion, such as Christian, wonderful. You see, we all created by God. So the God's sort of the loving kindness to us, something like father take care about children, their children, or father's children. Like God, like Father, all human being, all whole world or universe created by God. Then, according to Christian tradition, Jesus Christ, like our Father. So we all children of that same Father. So that very powerful sort of also the teaching. Similarly, Muslim, Judaism, and others of tradition, all who believe God, is the same sort of also the philosophical view. Wonderful.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Ka.
For our second question,
Ka.
I'd like to invite Ms. Ashlesha Rajak. She's a judge in the Rajasthan judiciary. Ashlesha, please.
My question is, how can one see things objectively and not with own preconceived notions? Thank you.
Kasa.
수술로지 그 원기 유통하면 해봐. 디 유통해야 돼. 뭐 내수도 여버지 통해야 돼. 다시 가열세죠. 그러지 원기입니다.
Now, according now quantum physics, you see, they already sort of realize, already mentioned, there is differences, appearance and reality. Now, at least a material thing, so far, so quantum physics not much deal with mind, external thing. So, according to quantum physics, external things appears, it exists by, as appears. Things, you see, exist objectively. But now quantum physicists say, you see, there is big differences, appearance and reality. Appearance objectively exists, but investigate, nothing we can find as appears. So then quantum physicists, some say that ultimately all are mental creation. Nothing exists objectively. So that's quite similar. The India's ancient philosophical view, and particularly Buddhism, you say nothing exists as appears. So now they appear from things exist by objectively. That appearance is wrong. So if we believe things exist as appears, that's ignorance. It's quite clear. The things objectively exist, then grasping, or good or bad, so then too much sort of the emotion, grasping, oh, this is good, this is bad, all you see from objectively exist. Then now some philosopher or some scientist, now they say nothing exists objectively. So if we go deeper level or mental creation, there's some scientists say that. That's exactly the Indian, ancient Indian thought. Usually, as I mentioned earlier, within Buddhism, like a Madhyamika philosophy, nothing exists as appears. Or if you investigate, nothing exists by itself. Almost to say mental creation. So particularly Chitta Mantra, another Buddhist school of thought, they say all are mental creation. Nothing objectively exists. So these reduce our sort of negative emotion. Oh, this is good, too much attachment. This is bad, too much sort of negative attitude. Now these reduce. Now even nowadays, some student, you see, who study about quantum physics, now some express when they more faith about quantum physics, nothing exists by objectively. So their sort of feeling of grasping reduce. So the grasping objectively exists. That is the basis, according Indian philosophers or Indian psychologists, according to their view. You see, the very basis of our anger, attachment, all these, you see, based on the feeling of grasping objectively exist. So like, as I mentioned earlier, Madhyamika philosophy, nothing exists as appears. That direct sort of antidote, or sort of one serious ignorance, things are there, and then attachment, or then anger, then fear. Like that. So the Buddhists we call shunyata, concept of shunyata. The reason why things not exist as appears objectively. The reality, everything, every existence is on the nature of interdependency, dependent. Nothing independently exists. So that we call patita samubandha. Everything interdependent. Even Buddha, if we investigate, where is Buddha? Nothing. Whether Buddha, also described as a Buddha, his body, his mind, his voice, no. Then beside his body, his mind, his voice, where is Buddha? No, nothing. So all these, for example, here, you one human sister, I'm one human brother. Beside this body, speech or voice and mind, where is I? Where is self? Do you find self beside your body and mind? Where is yourself? Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. We have the third question from Dr. V.S. Mishra. He's a professor at the Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Professor, please.
Good morning, Your Holiness. My question is, if joy and suffering is a creation of what is perceived by the five senses, then what can put humans on the path of equanimity? Thank you.
All these, of course, we should accept there is good and there is bad. But you see, too much grasping, or that causing emotion. Just so also they recognize, yes, there are good things, there are bad things. Our sort of way of our sort of looking everything, good and bad, everything as sort of appear objectively exist. You see, that become basis of all our emotions. So the antidote of that kind of emotion, we should know the ultimate reality of things. So there is big differences, appearance and reality. All destructive emotion based on appearance. So the antidote of that, they realize the ultimate reality, nothing there. So that's the, as I already mentioned, all the negative emotion, you see, based on appearance, things independently exist there, and then grasping, this is good, this is bad. Now, the antidote of that, realize nothing exists as appears. Then the Madhyamika philosophy say that nothing objectively exists. All chakwa, jiten chakwa ko nahi ba.
By way of conventions.
The one very clear also the expression by Chandrakirti. Correct. Dao chakwa. Chandrakirti. Kirita. Tenam shingde namje shebe namdu yuwa mayin shing. Tele shandu yuwa jikden chakwa ko nahi ba yins.
So Master Chandrakirti says in his Madhyamaka Avatara that when you do analysis of things, like doing an analysis of a chariot in 7 ways, you'll not find anything that you can pinpoint as being the chariot, for example. And so how do things then exist if you're not able to find through analysis? And then he says that things are renowned, exist by way of being renowned in the worldly convention. And then Master Chandrakirti also says in the Madhyamaka Avatara that if things were to have any kind of objective, independent existence in and of themselves, then there would be some logical fallacies that you would have to face. And he points out one of them is that someone who is able to see the reality as it is, because the person is doing this deeper analysis into how things exist, it must be found by his cognition. And whereas that's not the case. And then, therefore, if things were to have any objective independent existence, it would mean that it would be tantamount to say that this perception of that Arya being who has actually seen the reality as it is destroying the things, because he's actually not able to find the things having any independent objective existence, which is what he should find, having found the reality of the things as it is. And therefore, the Arya being's perception or cognition would be a destroyer, a cause for destruction of the things and entities. And that's one logical fallacy that he points out. And then the other one that he points out is that the conventional reality of things, the conventional truth, would be able to withstand the ultimate analysis into how things exist. And that's also not the case.
So now here, I also use quantum physics when I meditate about shunyata. Beside Madhyamaka Mulakarika, you see, their sort of point, I always meditate on it, and then also use quantum physics. So one Indian scholar, Rajaramana. You see, he once told me, quantum physics in the West, something new. In this country, over 2,500 years already developed quantum physics. Then he recited few verses of Nagarjuna. So nothing exists as appears. So that is the antidote of our negative emotion. Negative emotion creates restless our mind. So all destructive emotion based on the unrealistic sort of emotion. Right? So the philosophy or theory, emptiness, very useful. I daily, as soon as I wake up, I'm thinking nothing exists as appears. Then combine with altruism, the rest of the sentient being who suffer due to destructive emotion. Once we realize that, the karuna automatically come. So then you get the determination. I must serve as much as I can to clear away all these negative emotion. So now these, although come from Buddhist text, but we should use this as a sort of the realistic attitude. Whether non-believer or non-Buddhist, your faith is personal matter. But then these philosophy, theory, is the trying to pinpoint the reality. So, as I mentioned earlier, India's was a great, because of the great thing, secular. Now, many scientists also now showing interest about, you see, Nalendra Masters, also the thinking like that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. And for the fourth question, I would like to invite Mr. Vijay Pandey, the Vice Principal of Chapra Central School, Saran, Bihar. Vijay, sir, please.
Namaste, His Holiness. And the question is how to have mental peace and why so many people are depressed nowadays and how to get rid of it. And sir, Your Holiness, this question is from Vijay Pandey, sir, Vice Principal of Chapra Central School. And that is related to your friend J.P. Narayan, Jayaprakash Narayan, who was your friend and who was supporter of Tibetan people. And I'm taking this question on his behalf because of network issue. He can't himself take this question.
When you mentioned the name Jayaprakash Narayan, he's a great supporter and great friend of mine. Wonderful people. Now, as we already sort of discussed, the destroyer of inner peace, not external weapon, external enemy, but your own destructive emotion. Actually, Shantadeva mentioned your enemy is best teacher of your spiritual practice. Without enemy, there is with friend, with Buddha, no basis of practice of patience, tolerance. So tolerance and patience practice only develop when we met enemy or person who criticize you, then that's the opportunity to practice patience, tolerance. So enemy is your best teacher. It mentioned that. So I think we can, I can say all negative emotion very narrow-minded and one-sided. And like compassion or tolerance, these practice based on reason. So all negative emotion, no sound basis, just ignorance, short-sighted. All the positive emotion based on reason. So that really give us real hope. All negative emotion, no matter how powerful, but actually based on wrong view and ignorance. Like compassion, karuna, ahimsa, these based on reason. So anything which based on reason, we can meditate and analytical meditation, vipassana, so we can increase. Anger, fear, just to come. We cannot meditate on anger. We cannot meditate on fear. These are just the emotion based on appearances, short-sighted, like that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Your Holiness, my question to you is, according to your learning in life, like how do you think we should transfer present education system?
Oh, that's my main concern. So-called modern education. For example, this country is introduced by Britisher. So the modern education always oriented about material value. Not much talk about our emotion, about our inner world. So now education, modern education should, at least in this country, firstly, this country in education field should include the education about our mind, about our emotion, then how to deal this emotion. We should take as a part of education, not a religion. So only this country, you see, can combine ancient your knowledge, how to deal emotion, these things as an academic subject. With that, modern education. Now I often you see mentioning modern education about, you see, something like kasa,
Physical hygiene.
The modern education only, you see, taking care about physical hygiene or physical health. That's not sufficient. Now, ancient Indian knowledge about karuna, ahimsa, now these is related with our emotion. So I usually call hygiene of emotion. That modern education, that lacking. Now, India, you see, should combine modern education, very useful about science, including science, technology, these things, very useful. With that, how to develop inner peace. And in order to inner peace, not through prayer, not through faith. Some people, through faith, very useful, wonderful. But here, you see, we can analyze about the very nature of emotion. Then those emotions, when we investigate, no proper basis, then automatically reduce. So those emotions with reasons, the thinking more, and meditate, and analyze, analytical meditation, then it increases. So this country, I think, real opportunity to combine ancient Indian knowledge and modern education, combine these things. Okay.
Your Holiness, we have the last and final question. And for that, I would like to invite Mr. Ranjit Bajaj of Minerva Academy. Sir, please.
Namaste, Your Holiness. It's a pleasure to meet you. My question is, us Indians, as humans, individuals to make life better for the coming generations as a whole?
Mainly education. I feel education. The existing so-called modern education is mainly concerned about physical world. That's not sufficient. Now, India's 1,000-year-old knowledge how to tackle our emotion, that taking care about our inner world. Now, firstly, India have the opportunity and ability to combine modern education and ancient Indian education about emotion, about mind. that firstly, Indian universities eventually, I think, should create certain class, you see, without a religion, simply about our emotion, about our mind, these and modern education combination. Not the temple or some sort of
For worshipping.
some worship,
Place of worship.
in education, secular education field, you see, should introduce about our inner world, how to develop inner peace as a part of education, not as a religion, not talking God, not talking next life, not talking Buddha, simply as a sort of academic subject. Other country, you see, no sort of opportunity, no ability, because not much knowledge. Now, this country already have a fuller knowledge about our inner world. So now this, not in temple, in classroom, should study as an academic subject. I feel that. Okay. I think these things.
Thank you so much.
These things, I think, like some of your universities, start some sort of program as an experiment. And after this illness problem disappear, I will come and talk, discuss. Okay. That actually, you see, these no other alternative. There are problem. Humanity, you see, a lot of problem, our own creation. So nobody want a problem, but many problem, our own creation. So young children, I think not much sort of also the because of the worry. I think all these human created problem, not by the children. Children, very honest, and very much appreciate their mother, their families' affection. So children themselves always feel much happier, smile, play. Then now some scientists say, basic human nature, since we are social animal, any social animal, the sense of concern of your own community always there. So sense of concern of your community is nature, biological factor. Now problem, when we join our education, not much talk, these things. Then when I think textbook and teachers, you see, mention some the heroes. So those heroes actually, you see, too much attachment, oneself, self-centered, then fight, kill. So children, very when they are young, as a social animal, very kind. And we always look mother's kindness. Then once we join education, then not much talk about these things. Only, you see, the material sort of life, and then a materialistic life, and then also, you see, mentioning your past heroes. Most heroes are killer. So I think existing education, I think, is spoiling basic our nature, a more compassionate nature as a social animal. That eventually neglected. The other, as our concept, too much, too strong, because of the too much emphasis, we and they. So, as I often use in mentioning, the existing education system now should include education about our inner peace, and in that automatically come the subject of karuna, subject of ahimsa automatically come. So firstly, as I mentioned earlier, see, in this country, some university or some school should introduce such sort of lesson. Then eventually show rest of the world through education how to develop peace of mind. And that ultimately, through that way of education, peaceful community, peaceful world, then eventually we really can materialize a demilitarized world. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Holiness, from every one of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Okay, thank you.